I should be ashamed for telling somebody that they can have a perfectly good vinyl playback experience with a turntable less than $1,000. I should apologize to everyone watching this channel right now who bought a turntable on my recommendation that's under $1,000, but I'm not going to. And if you think I need to apologize, you should be ashamed. There are folks out there, and you know who you are because you've commented on past videos I've made and even made videos of your own, that think that if you don't spend $1,000 on a turntable or more than $1,000, then you can't enjoy your vinyl records. And on top of that, according to these folks, if you buy something like this or this, then your record experience is subpar and you shouldn't be allowed to buy records. Comments like that are insane. But before I get to all of that, I do want to say this. Today's episode of The Joy of Vinyl is sponsored by the Tube Store. I've bought many tubes from the Tube Store. They have excellent customer service. I love tubes. I love shopping on their site. They make it easy, and if there's ever an issue, they will make it right. And they have you covered if you're into tubes. So check out the link in the description and visit the Tube Store. So here's the thing. The reason that all of this came up is I did a video recently about bad advice. And in it, I said you can enjoy a perfectly good vinyl playback experience for $300 or a little bit less. And you can. I firmly believe that. And I'll get to that in just a moment, but I do want to say something first. There were some folks who took offense at that. And the pushback was that you can only enjoy or unlock the joys of vinyl or unlock the vinyl playback experience with high-end, expensive turntables. Okay, fine. Yes, high-quality equipment does equate to a better audio experience. But notice, I said high quality. Quality doesn't always equal expensive. There are some very high-quality turntables for less than $1,000, less than $500 that will provide a great experience. I drive a truck that's 14 years old, and it does what I need to do. It gets me from point A to point B, and it has for a long time, and I'm happy with it. It also has a manual transmission, something else I love. But could I spend a lot more money for something better? Well, of course I could. And maybe that's not the best analogy, but I think you get the point. My current setup consists of some very expensive gear, and it's not the most expensive gear out there by any means. I can't afford the most expensive gear, and it took me years to get what I have, but I didn't start out with this gear. Now, excluding the equipment I had when I was a kid, when I got back into vinyl a few years ago, I started out with this, the ATL-P60 and Edifier speakers. And I loved it, so much so that my passion for vinyl records exploded. It ignited, and it was all because of that setup. As a result, I began to buy records again, a lot of them, and it was all about the music. And I have that setup to thank for it, the ATL-P60. I'll say it again, because I know some people hate to hear this, the ATL-P60 and those Edifier speakers. They were Edifier-powered speakers, mind you. Remember I said just a moment ago that my truck is a manual transmission? Well, I love manual tactile experiences. I always have. And so eventually I went from that automatic turntable, the ATL-P60. I know I keep saying it, but I just like to just get under their skin. I'm kidding, but seriously. I went from that to the U-turn Orbit. It was all manual. It was what I could afford. And at the time, I couldn't justify anything more expensive. It was all about the music. And whenever I talk to somebody who's interested in vinyl records or interested in getting into them, who is just curious, I always recommend starting out with that setup. It's a great quality setup to start with, to see if you like it, to see if you enjoy it, to see if you want more of it. And it doesn't cost more than $300. So when someone comments or maybe even on a Facebook group or something and points at someone's $200 turntable and says something like this,
"That's not good enough. You should dig yourself a hole, throw it in, and then jump in it."
Now, I don't get that mentality. Did they start out with a $5,000 turntable when they bought their first record? I highly doubt that. Well, maybe they did. 99% of us can't afford to do that. So we stick within our budget while we test the waters. Maybe we stay with that setup, and that's great. I mean, I used that ATL P60 and that U-turn orbit for years before I even thought about upgrading. And that's the thing. Once you start focusing on the gear and the sound it provides, it can be a slippery slope. That's when you start to chase that imaginary perfect sound. There's no such thing as a perfect sound. Even somebody with a, say, $25,000 system is still upgrading at some point. They'll still upgrade. It's because they're chasing that sound, and there is nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong with scoffing at somebody who can't afford it, or scoffing at somebody who is perfectly happy with their $600 turntable or their $200 turntable. When I launched this channel, I didn't do it for the audiophiles out there, and I didn't do it for someone looking for their next $12,000 pair of speakers. I did it for two sets of folks. I did it for the beginner who is looking for some guidance and wondering what's out there. And I also did it for someone who's been collecting records, as I had, for decades, but never really thought about their equipment or the sound that that equipment provides and what could improve upon it. Now, as I've said many, many times, and you're probably sick of hearing this, but I've been collecting records for 40 years. That being said, I didn't start focusing on the gear until maybe 4 years ago. It's why I also review equipment I'm interested in or that I think you would be interested in. I'm educating myself and sharing what I learn. I don't come at this as I know everything there is to know. I learn something new every day. And when I learn something, I love to share it. And every once in a while, I'll stumble upon something that I didn't expect to, and I'll get passionate about it. Like my love of tubes and tube-driven equipment. As a result, I now have a lot of tubes here. They're way fun to experiment with. So back to my point. There is equipment that I will advise staying away from. But if you don't take my advice and buy it anyway, that's fine. We're all on our own journey. There is no shame here. It's all about what makes you happy, your budget, and your ears, and the music you like to listen to. My views will change. They have over time, as will my advice. So when that happens, I'll let you know. And I have in many videos. I changed my mind on cleaning records with alcohol recently. So here I am, doubling down on what I said on that earlier video. And I'm speaking directly to those folks who are beginners and just getting into vinyl, and to those folks who have, say, a turntable they've been using for years and are just now considering changing. You do not need to spend thousands for an enjoyable vinyl record experience. All you need is a love of music, a joy of vinyl, and the curiosity to learn. I cannot wait to see what kind of pushback I get for this video. And until then, if you have something to add to it, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this particular video, like and subscribe. It does help the channel. And until next time, please take care of yourself, enjoy your records, and I'll see you soon.